So I bought them.
Just the two, Lisa, just the two. What about the other one?
No, that's Robin 3.
That's good.
I've got my phone.
Actually, our live video now.
Welcome everybody to this November meeting of an event, and thank you all for attending. For your information, we're going to, when we get to the I'm going to suspend standing order to allow Susie to talk so that she's at the table, and it's much nicer than doing it from over there and us all turning our neck. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Right, so which thing we'll move to apologies for absence.
No.
Well, that's really good, isn't it? Declarations for interest. Most of us have filled in our declarations for interest, but if anything, you suddenly feel the urge to declare an interest in. Again, said you can do that in a meeting. Minutes of the last meeting, can you just have a look at those, please? Just to make sure that you're happy with them before we agree with them. Because we had quite a debate about several things, so it's really important that you know those minutes before we agree them. Then I can sign them later. Members happy with those minutes?
Yeah.
In which case, can we have a further hands to agree with them? Somebody proposed we agree. Brian proposed and Ravina's going to second it. They're all in favour of supporting the two councils in the agreements. Marvellous. Marvellous.
We're abstaining because we're having a...
You're abstaining, that's I never like to abstain. Right, in which case, we're going to discuss the report on music in the market, in which case, I'm going to ask you, can you suspend standing orders?
Yeah, I propose that. Oh yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, in which case, suspend standing orders.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will agree, right, that makes it a lot more easy to talk to us. Your floor is yours, Susie. I haven't brought an instrument tonight.
No.
Very unlike you not to be singing or playing.
This is far more nerve-wracking.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Well, I'll do my best. What I thought I'd do is, if I read the email I originally sent to the town council with the help of my trusty sidekick, Mr. Peter Thirlby, who can't be with me tonight. So I'll just read it through. It should probably take about 3 minutes, and there's bits I can miss out. It's basically about the sort of pros and cons of having music in the market where it currently is. Basically, because Buckingham has got bigger, it's a far more diverse population now as well. But I'll go through it, and then you can obviously ask me any questions you need afterwards. So, music in the market 2024 and beyond. Music in the market has been a significant popular culture event held in Buckingham Town for over 20 years. Organised by Buckingham Acoustic Club and the Town Council, it receives financial support from the council that covers staging, PA system, security and artist fees. Musicians have been traditionally drawn from ranks of Buckingham Acoustic Club plus other notable local performers. The emphasis has been acoustic music with more rock-orientated groups appearing later in the day. Buckingham Acoustic Club is an informal organisation made up of musicians who have come together on a regular basis in and around Buckingham for nearly 25 years. For many years, the club met weekly in many venues that include Britannia, the New Inn, the Woolpack. Buckingham Acoustic Club is now its new home, which is Buckingham Football Club on Stratford Fields. Further to various retirements within the club, it's now been run by myself, Susie Smith, and Peter Thirlby, and also Udo Dodds, but he may be having to stand down next year because he will be away. COVID greatly impacted Buckingham Acoustic Club, and it was difficult to maintain support. Meetings dropped to monthly, and we've now moved to Football Club. However, support and enthusiasm to play and perform remains, and will continue to rebuild the club. In fact, it's actually doing really, really well at the moment. The 2020 event of Music in the Market did not go ahead, and COVID obviously reduced the concentration of people in a small area. The 2021 event was held at the Buckingham Rugby Club, and this was highly successful as Buckingham had its first major event since the pandemic. The attendance was extremely impressive, the facilities safe and pleasant, parking easy, great access for artists, local traders and food stalls all did good business. What we noticed with this event was that families attended, and they were able to sort of set up and sit around and stay all day, whether the weather was good or bad, because there was cover provided for bad weather. But mainly it proved to be a success and it was comfortable. The success of that 2021 event prompted the Acoustic Club to propose that it return to the Rugby Club or a similar location, and this received pushback from several local traders and publicans in the town. So obviously the event has stayed in the town centre. The 2022 event went ahead in the town centre and the various venues did fairly good business as usual. The event was a great success. In 2023, with a new team, that's myself, Peter and Udo, we put on the event. The positives were the music and other entertainments were well received, there were no major incidents. We had more community involvement, including Bollywood dancers. We had intended to get a Bollywood DJ, but he was unavailable. We had Morris Men, we had folk musicians performing and sort of general bands, mainly all local entertainers. It was seen as a good idea and provided useful pointers for how it could be more successful in future. We broadened the lineup, various folk musicians, duos, choirs and community groups. We had poetry. None of the actual organisers played on the day, as we felt that was a bit unfair. So we had another little event on the Saturday night leading up to the big event on the Sunday. We ended the night with a DJ. This got a bit of a mixed reception, but it was deemed a great success because it enabled us to sort of control the end of the evening and actually begin clearing away while the DJ was on. The negatives of the event, we feel, is that the location is now not particularly people friendly. There are slopes and high curbs, there are no soft areas, no nearby public toilets, and it's difficult for a family to camp out and spend time. Indeed, even elder members of the community or people with perhaps disabilities, it's quite hard to find somewhere comfortable to pitch. The staging and the PA this year were not suitable for community acts, and we had problems with amplification and actually getting people on and off the stage, and parts of it weren't actually particularly safe. The terrain made it difficult to set up, and access for artists is quite poor. So what we're looking at for maybe 2024 and beyond is for it to evolve with an event that mixes community performers, choirs, groups, children's groups, more dance, more poetry, acoustic music, jazz and world music, new music from local talents and notable acts, performers representing Buckingham's more cultural makeup, and engaging more venues in the event, perhaps creating a memorable and notable weekend that reaches out to an ever-growing younger town. We're also thinking of rebranding, but that's perhaps another issue, to Buckingham Live and renaming Buckingham Acoustic Club to Buckingham Live Sessions, which might give it a bit more of a modern feel. Buckingham Live 24 will involve perhaps creating a weekend or even 3-day event with performances on the Friday evening, Saturday afternoon and Sunday, incorporating other venues, which also is good business, pubs, cafes, perhaps the old jail, an outdoor event in Kappa Pens, perhaps incorporating a market. What we'd ideally be looking at, if it was in the Buckingham Town site, is obviously road closures to make it a much safer event. Alternative sites to make the event even safer would be the university site, which I think was Buckingham Town Football Club, and the current Buckingham Football Club ground, who are fairly keen to host something if we can do it. The benefits of those locations would be no road closures and perhaps less town council involvement, and just a generally safer environment perhaps for families. What we would also need from Buckingham Town Council is continued financial support for artists and staging. What else have we got? In return for the involvement of the Town Council, Buckingham Live will book and organise the music acts for all 2 or 3 days, however long the event is held for. We book the venue, stage and PA. We'd seek out corporate sponsorship to lower the financial impact on Buckingham Town Council. We would do all the work with local media and liaise with venues. We look forward to continuing to work with Buckingham Town Council to create a truly great event that brings people of Buckingham together, enlivens the town, brings trade to pubs, cafes and shops. What we need, I suppose, is different from the original email. We need to create a dialogue with Buckingham Town Council so that we can move this event forwards and successfully. And that's signed by myself, Peter Felby and Udo Dobbs.
Thank you very much. Well, having read that, just so members know, it's not just accused, it's not prejudiced, it's my son plays football for Buckingham Town. But it's only just a matter so you know. I'll be open about it. If you all want to go and watch him, he'll sure be pleased. But you should always declare these things. So, what I would like to do is take round a series of questions, and I'm going to take Margaret first, and then we'll work our way around the table.
Thank you very much for coming this evening. That was great. It was lovely to hear face to face rather than reading documents. Remembering back, I mean, I came up to the rugby club when you had the event up there, and it was really good and it clearly worked very well for all sorts of reasons. I think one of the reasons the town council didn't support it continuing to be there is it's not actually in Buckingham, it's in Maids Morton.
Yes.
So clearly if the similar venue on the Buckingham Football Club grounds obviously is in Buckingham and it's quite close to the town centre. It's not the town centre, but it's not far. And so those objections to it not being Buckingham obviously don't apply. So I think that gives it quite a good edge.
Do you want to answer any of that, or do you want to take this?
Yeah, I mean it's still quite a central location, and lots of people can walk to it. And of course, for us, it was about people's safety, because I speak to a lot of people, and I work in a lot of local schools, so I'm working and liaising with young families all the time. People knew the event was on in the town. They said, "Oh, we'd love to go. However, we feel we can't really relax because it's hard surfaces." And I know when my children were small, they used to come along. You feel you can only stay for perhaps a short time. So putting it somewhere else means you can really make a day of it. So it's great if performers are fine, they're performing, but what you notice is when you are performing is that people are coming and they're going. They do not stay. So people are drifting in and out the whole time. So with someone like the football club, it seems quite an ideal location. It's flat, it's safe, it's grassy. There are some facilities already there, and that is actually where the acoustics club now have their home. So we get to use a very nice. It's a lovely venue to use as a stage. There's lighting, and we've possibly got a weather alternative, perhaps. So I've done events down there before, and it's but it gives the football club a bit of a. I don't know, a bit of support perhaps as well. Whereas I think the rugby club gets a lot of support, and the football club is often it's kind of, I don't know, the runner-up somehow.
Thank you.
Hi, Susie. Firstly, I just want to say I really like Buckingham Live, the idea of making it longer, more festival feel, more of a community feel. So I think that's a great idea, and I do like the idea of Buckingham Football Club as well, because it is. I think most people would just easily walk there. So yeah, that's a great idea. I was interested to find out what percentage of funding would you look for through corporate sponsorship?
We're not really sure. We've been talking to. I'm going to talk to the gentleman that organised or helped to organise the Buckingham Bandjam, because I think he raised quite a reasonable amount of sponsorship to put that event on.
Right.
I've got lots of fingers and lots of pies, so I'm prepared to talk to lots of people and get on with it if I have to. I do a lot of the work myself anyway, with the things I organise. So I don't know percentage-wise what that would be, but I do know going forward we need a better quality stage and sound setup. Now, the Buckingham Acoustic Club does have some money, it doesn't have very much. I don't get involved with that, that is Udo, who's with the financial side of things. But we do need something that's a little bit more professional in a way to cope with a large scale event. Having said that, if we had other events on in other venues, that could be down to individuals or bands or performers themselves to arrange that.
Okay.
But we've got various ideas going forward, but with funding, I wouldn't actually know a figure,
Right.
but I could certainly get quotes for things.
Thank you, Rebecca. John.
Yeah, I think the overall drift in this is something I would support. Susie, I think it's a good idea. Like Ravina, I like the idea of sending out the few days. Like going from poetry, of course. And I'll be there. Adding to my own. Decoding stress there.
We're all doing that, John.
Yeah, and a couple of questions though. I think just picking up on what Ravina was saying about corporate sponsorship. One of the things I think the town council would be concerned about would be that if there was sponsorship and they demanded it front and centre, somehow push the town council off to one side, that would be something that maybe the town council wouldn't be wild about. Because if we're putting up the most amount of money, then we will expect the prime, the prime sort of slot, and so on. I think the idea of leaving the town football club is a good one. Are they concerned about any pitch damage though? Because people were coming along with, people staff are going to be leaving things on the pitch and that.
We wouldn't be able to use the pitch, but there is quite a big space around the pitch that would probably
To let you know, John, almost a decade ago, we did do a music event down there, and we put a stage in by the. It was in the Fringe. We did a music event in the Fringe, and what we actually did was at the staging on the hard standing, and the people were on the soft standing, which is the training area between the pitch and the playing pitch. There's a very large sort of grass area, so that's where we did it. And I can visual the event plan in my head because I did it once. With a bit more of a skeleton crew. So does that help?
Yeah, if it could be accommodated, then that's fine. I guess the other option that occurred to me was Shandors Park itself. Where the children's playground is going down. You could put a natural amphitheatre to a certain extent, and then I got the Goals Club could provide a bar or something like that, and of course the toilets there as well. That's another option.
Because there has been an event. It did happen, didn't they?
Play events.
We did an event in there.
I know it's flooded.
Yeah, I did an event in there many years ago, and we had a comedy night in there, and I had to piggyback all the out of our district staff help at the event as the river rose and the generator went under the water. Much fun was had as I got them out of the park. The river came up that quick that the generator disappeared under the water.
But that could affect the athletic.
Yeah, but that was not the flooding. It's just that we did do an event. We have done events in there years ago, but they were on the space that we now got the bugger. And next to the tennis court, and Andy will remember that. I was going to take
the last point to make is about using the what was the old Buckingham town pitch for the university. There are no toilets nearby. And that, you can import portaloos and everything else, but that would be an extra cost.
I think it's a harder location to work with.
Yeah, it's closer to the water.
Yeah.
So it's maybe on that one.
And Newin.
And the new one, yeah.
So it has its advantages. I think there's some pros and cons. Lots of different sites here. But there's only one gate I think, into and out. And that might have concerns with regards to fire safety and that sort of stuff. But in general, I think it's a great idea. I like it about spreading it over 3 days. It's like a mini live festival.
Yeah, and it will still obviously benefit the town and it's the businesses in the town because we can have different events with bands playing. It will bring people in over that. That's the plan.
Lisa, and then I'll go back to Ravina.
Thank you. So you mentioned about the two sites. would you envisage needing extra security for either of the sites? Because at the moment we do provide security. So that's one question. And the second one is, you mentioned about like start, and I suppose it's really for the officers, that it would be less like time for our staff involvement because the road closure wouldn't be needed if it was at the Buckingham Athletic. Would you guys envisage more or less staff time if it was to change? So I'm not opposed to it moving at all.
The thing with the staffing of the event, I think the report suggests, but Susie's gone that maybe there would need some staffing in the sense that some of the aspects of down the football club would take away some of the necessity for our staff to be on.
That's what I'd hope.
And when it comes to
less, not
security,
more.
I'm sure, but we'd have to work an event plan for it, and we'd have to look at all that, and then it'd be part of that. We can't make that decision before we've made the other decision.
No, I was
And
asking
it's
the
all part
question,
of
so
event
it's been
management
looked at
planning, so
already,
you
Chairman.
look in it and you do risk assessment, and then we'll have to put it to the safety advisory board, and it's got a long route to go. That its decision, but all those things are very much at the back end of the discussion of whether we agree.
Didn't look
And they'll get,
Chairman.
having done them a few years, know routine. But does that, they all get took into consideration, and I can assure that. Yeah, quick view,
So there was a question for the officers.
I mean, I'd suggest that certainly on the day, I would expect there to be less officer time required. So, for example, at the moment, we have our officers out very early in the morning to close the road and make space for the stage to get set up, all of those things. That's our Green Spaces team. And then they're often still working until getting on to midnight. So they have very good days at the moment. They wouldn't need to do that. They wouldn't need to do that beginning half of the day because it would already be there on site. If they needed to bring everything over, they can do that during their normal work week. So, yeah, so I think that there would be very likely to be less staff time, but I couldn't give you exact details until we've made an agreement about exactly what the plan was going to be and exactly.
You've answered my question perfectly.
Exactly what I said.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
I don't, but I haven't done these.
It was an officer question then.
Yeah. Anyway,
Were you happy with that answer?
through the chair, repeating, and then we'll go back to John.
I was just going to say, other staggered events over a couple of days, say for example, the poetry, like when we had Celebrate Buckingham Day, that's also another space we could use, especially during the day events, rather than the evening events, or something which isn't as long.
Yeah.
I know there's no toilets or anything there, but it's still, a usable space for a shorter period of time.
Yeah, good shout.
I would, I'll go back to John, but I would envisage that the consideration, that I've read it, Susie, correct me if I'm wrong, that you sort of scoped out one area which you could use, and you're partially scoping out another area, and you have got what I would call a client buy-in to a place that you've already got a relationship with. Would that be a reasonable objective? That it's part of building on what the club does with an organisation you're working with. Would that be not
I think it
untrue?
would be as mean in the other events to open
The other events,
not that big one.
Those events, I think it's a real suggestion that
The poetry,
I
she's
think
saying.
one of the things we have that when we do events, and I think either view from the officers, is we always have to put in toilets into that event, into the park, because there isn't any, and those come as a cost, and that's all has to be carefully balanced against the budget. But we are, nothing's impossible, and really that's for the building discussion. If we agree to go this way, that's for the discussion which takes part. John, do you want to come back?
Yeah, just to say, when I saw Live 24, I was reminded of the time when we got planned the karaoke.
Yeah, we've had to speak about it.
It was a science goal, we were going to stay up, but we didn't.
We
But you know what I mean, it was 2024.
Well, we managed to do one of it, but it rained, and I phoned Amanda at 4 in the morning to tell her not to come out. Because you
That was
fell
right,
asleep.
yeah.
I didn't fall asleep. You were snoring.
I
must have
was snoring.
and I was awake, and I phoned Amanda in audiology and said, Amanda, I shouldn't come out, it's raining. Thank you very much, Robin, it's 4 in the morning. But it seemed a logical thing to do at the time. Andy, you haven't spoken.
Thank you. I think the idea is very good, but 3 days, I feel, maybe slightly longer, because and may dilute our fringe week. Because it depends when it is, and some of the acts that we have in the fringe will be very similar with poetry and everything else, very similar to the events that you're really holding.
We can avoid that, but I mean, we can do things, it's like with music in the market, we had a bit of everything. We just feel with a longer event, you can have a lot, you've got more opportunity for many more people to perform. But when we have the poets, we tend to, and even now, when we do the acoustic club, what is really great about the poets is they're able to go on stage while we are kind of setting other things, so it gives them a platform, if you like, but it's not detracting from the music. And it wouldn't really matter if they're at one event and at another. It's about, I think, just having more and more things going on. And I think the whole point that Pete and myself wanted to get across was it is time to change, I think. I think Music in the Market has been a fantastic event. And I think Udo and myself even performed at the very first one. It's just one of those things that is brilliant, but I think Buckingham has changed so much that we need to think a little bit bigger.
I'm going to take Margaret, but there's other councillors who haven't spoken on this. Is there anybody who hasn't spoken who wants to talk on this to try and move it forward? Ryan, then I'll come back to Margaret.
So, like, I really like the idea of the event. Most people, well, everyone around the table. The only thing that I would like is that I'd like to see the figures, like how much, if just come, you know, we can come back to that later. But I'm really liking the less involvement we've got, staff strain within the total. So,
Thank you.
apart from that, I'm good for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it really is. I know that Banbury does some things around the canal, don't they? And sort of like roaming, same people playing at different venues over their weekends. And it absolutely there's quite a lot of things that work really well like that. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I really do, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Margaret.
I'm going to go to
Mayor, sorry.
because I'm going to people who haven't spoken.
Very briefly, just to say, you know, I'm of the opinion of everybody around the table. It sounds like a good idea, obviously subject to the details being finalised. I think.
I'm sorry about that, Margaret. I apologise. I should have said that, Anya, then it would have been easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's just the brain collected. Margaret.
Yeah, don't all have heart attacks, because I don't very often say this, but I'm really excited about this. I think it sounds really good. Retitling it Buckingham Live sounds great. I think the venue sounds great. So good. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. I'm aware of that. It's a big undertaking, but good luck with it. And it does sound as though you've got our support. I hope I speak for other people in that.
Thank you very much. I'll just make some comments and share. I was at the first one, in the market, when we did the market, then we took the decision to move it up to the main market. And I was a bit younger as well then, Susie. And it was the first time that we'd ever done anything like that in the town period at that point. And there was decriers of, oh, well, that will never work, for 25 years on, it obviously did work. So those decriers about doing anything, whatever. In which case, I really thank you for your presentation, Susie. And I think we've had a what I call positive discussion around it. And I was going to, Lisa was wishing to speak next, and I think she's going to make a formal proposal. Lisa?
Yeah, I propose that we accept all 3 recommendations, and if we can take them as bulk or vote on them one by one, I refer to the Deputy Town Clerk on that, but I propose that we accept all 3.
You have a seconder for that? Oh, really? Okay. Everybody went. You know, like,
Have one behind.
yeah, I'm sorry about that. You know, I am teaching left.
That's a morning show, that's
To interrupt slightly, I think we need to resume,
standing.
Well, we're going to do that.
and then we.
In which case, we'll do that. You're absolutely right. Well, in which case, you're absolutely right. We were getting quite excited there, weren't we? We'll propose we reinstate standing orders.
Yes.
Right, and then I propose that we go to Lisa.
So I propose that we accept all 3 recommendations, and whether we need to take those one by one or on bulk. On bulk. Then I refer to Deputy Town Clerk.
And I'll second that.
Is it agreed that we take the recommendations by bulk? Show of hands. for that.
Yeah.
Right, and then a show of hands to agree the recommendations. There we are. I told you it wouldn't be bad, didn't I? And it's much nicer when you sit at the table. Can I personally thank you very much?
Thank you, Susie.
Yeah.
And I felt that it was much better that we talk as an equals around here than you sat in the corner
Yeah.
trying to persuade something.
It's all a break.
Yeah, we work in partnership on events, and it's all about partnerships, and that's where we did. Right.
So I was just going to say, you know, on the point of karaoke as well, is karaoke part of the event as well? It is. I'm pretty sure that me and John could probably perform Chaz and Dave live.
I think, you see, what could happen is you could have something like that in one of the pubs.
Yeah.
And half of
Yeah.
it would be like a karaoke night, then one of the
Yeah.
pubs.
I think we're running before we can watch.
Yeah.
What we'll do, we'll agree recommendations, we'll have further discussions, and we'll come back at a further date with a bit more of a brief of where we're going to go.
Yeah.
And then, so that if there's any positives you've got to say or things you want to do different, it's an ongoing conversation. We'll work it out as we go along. Let's not plan an event.
No, we're here to support.
We're here to support, and I think one of the things it works well if you give people the ability to actually plan their life rather than tell them what you
That's
want
our
to do.
job. It's not.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you again.
Thank
Susie.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And,
Thanks, Susie.
and next time, can you please bring your guitar? Well, thank you very much, committee. And we are where we are, and that's great that we've got that gone through. It was much better the way we did it. Right, in which case, without further ado, we're going to move on to read or whatever the clerk's report, which is what I think we agreed that.
Yeah.
We agreed that. In which case we'll move on to markets, which is there's a report in here about markets and market thinking. You want to take us through that, please, the logic behind that?
So obviously this is something we review every year, what's reasonable, and the market pitch's view is that we could have a small rise in the price of a market pitch. Everything else to stay the same, it's just an additional £1.
Yeah. Fine.
We'll go with the recommendation.
Show recommendation. Anti-proposers.
Yeah, John just got his hand up.
Yeah, I mean, the flat increase of £1 makes a lot of sense. But given that the report says that it's going to be done by card, then we don't have to do it quite. We could say, because I think it's been some years since this increase, is that we could just say it's 10%. So the £20 pitch would become 22, £30 pitch would become 23, and so on. And also that means that the single flea market pitch, which is currently £10, would still be the same. We also pay the income, just a tad more. Is that something that people have an interest in, which is distinct?
I'm just through myself.
myself.
I don't know whether, I presume this report has gone through negotiations for a town market manager to discuss this in advance of us bringing it here. So I'm presuming these, until corrected, these figures have been discussed with the traders in advance before we agree it, to make sure that they're A, not too big, and they're B, large enough to show an increase. We haven't increased it for a long time. There's been good reasons to not increase it. But so I think everything you said has got value, John. It's just that means another load of negotiations over a report that we've got to. So I would be happy if someone proposed that we accept this report, which Andy has done, in which case, Fran seconded it this time. And yeah, I caught a thing up, and in which case, can I have a show of hands to accept the report? Thank you. Not a competition.
Just wait till her hand actually goes on.
No, calm down. Right, in which case, we're going to budget. I'm going to propose that we actually don't discuss budgets now. We've got all these reports to discuss, and some of this should be taken out are linked directly to the budget. So if we agree the budget now, and then we discuss the reports, it doesn't allow you to comment on the reports and such, whatever. And if there's any adjustments, comments, we can take them into consideration when we discuss the budgets. Because the last one is, which is to receive the proposals from the clerk for the budget's precept, and that may affect that. The other two budgets quite happy, but I think it may logic with people's agreement to do that.
Yeah.
I advise to do that. I think it'll make more sense when we're discussing stuff. It does to me anyway.
When do you want to discuss it?
Well, we'll discuss it after we've done. Well, we'll do it.
After calendar?
We'll do it after update for representative outside bodies. We'll do it. We'll fit it in there. That means we'll have done the body of the agreement and the reports, and that way, if there's any changes, members.
I did have some changes, so it makes sense to.
You can then make changes. Otherwise, we've agreed the actual budget. We've agreed the report, which would be very logical to me. Then perhaps that's where we are. In which case, if that's okay, then we'll move on to item 7, youth projects. Who's presenting that report? Okay.
So the gist of this recommendation is that we will continue funding Buckingham play days, that we will continue funding the summer basketball sessions on the 1 day a week, which is normally a Monday. But then rather than, so last year we put out some extra basketball sessions. That didn't work too well for a couple of reasons, mainly coaches. It logistically didn't work for the coach, so he didn't want to do it next year. And the turnout for those sessions wasn't as high. So we wanted to add some new summer activity sessions specifically aimed at teenagers and young people, but on the same principle that they would be open free and that you could just turn up and have a go to whatever it was. And in order to accommodate that, we would the budget. That's in the exact budget, actually in the budget report, which is later.
Yeah. Any comments on that? Thoughts, inspiration? Lisa?
Thanks. So you said that Lace Hill Centre may also be used, that get the youth club as another location, so it is accessible, friendly, and closer to town than Lace Hill. And I did chuckle a little bit when I read the last sentence there, a weakness of the youth provision. Provision is that it tends to attract teenage boys and not girls. Because I thought we had a good mix of boys and girls at the basketball sessions. Is that not true now? Okay, interesting. But yeah, I was thinking of going around with Project Street Life Worker to have a chat with some of the young people. So if either one of you want to come along and canvass the actual young people to see what they'd like for next year, it'd be something that we do. Yeah, cool. Thank you. That's it. Thanks.
May I just suggest a flower wall and they can spend like hours in front of it taking photos?
The bonds?
No, the girls on both, yeah.
No, yeah. Right, anybody else got anything they wish to say on the report?
I'm happy to go to recommendations, Chairman.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. In which case we'll move.
Sorry, can we put proposer in a second?
Right, show of hands then, here we go.
Proposer and seconder first.
Yeah, I'll propose.
I'll second.
Thank you.
We are, right, we've got that?
Yeah, I guess we got that.
You happy?
Thank
Okay,
you.
already.
Hands.
Right,
Yeah.
right, item
Yeah,
8,
we all agree.
special businesses. Who's gonna lead on that?
So, this is an event that we ran for the first time last year, the Town Centre Manager runs it. This is her suggestions for, so it was in the event calendar already that we were going to do something this year, but you hadn't had a proposal for what the plans would actually be. So this is the description of what she has in mind. She wants to encourage people particularly to walk around the whole town centre and go into different venues. So she's got a focus on using different locations. So there's a face painter that she's wants to have in Chantry Chapel. Accent Percussion, who are a new group that teach drumming skills.
Nice.
Want to do a performance, and that will, the no location yet, but they'll finalise that. And then a character mascot appearance at the museum. Those were my main ideas. A small elf hunt around the market, so that will tie into actually visiting and using the market for Christmas shopping. And a Buckingham shopper's passport, which will take you around the shops, and that's quite a good way to go, you know, Well Street and those places that are a little bit further afield, encouraging people to go and visit those shops. And there'll be a prize draw that's run through the TIC for that. Some of these activities can still go ahead if the weather's going to be poor, and then some of them.
Right, Andy, you were first.
No, it's okay.
Anybody, any concerns about the report? John and Fran?
I think it's great. I really like the idea of the shopper's basket. The thought occurs is whether that's something that could be more regular, not just on this particular day. I don't know how. It'd be interesting to know whether any other towns doing something like this to encourage people to shop. We all keep our eyes and ears open. Yeah. Somewhere else, but I think somebody.
I was going to say similarly, that yeah, I think it was a really good idea. On John's point about local shopping things, there are some towns that have their own currency.
Yeah.
Which is quite good fun.
Pimlico rings to mind.
Sorry?
Pimlico.
Stroud as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm like, it's probably quite complicated to set up, but I'm like, yeah, you buy your vouchers basically, and then you can spend them in the local shops. And I'd like to propose that we accept these recommendations.
Yeah, Andy seconded.
Okay, in which case, because this is, I know that this has been worked on for a time, and it is a big body of work. I would suggest that we do a press release about that, because quite frankly, it shows our council manager being active in the community, decision to our town centre manager. And this is something that she's been working on. It takes some time to get to this point where she can present a report about what she's doing.
Agreed.
And a little bit of positivity around her job and what she's trying to do in the community.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we're going to do that now. Yes. Right. I just wanted to say that was a vote. I'm chairing. That's why I do it as I want it. Right, in which case we'll have a proposer which was and the seconder.
It was Andy.
Andy, in which case all those in favour. Thank you. And then we'll do press release as suggested. But we've got to do proposer and second.
Are you proposing that you're doing a press
Yes,
release,
I am.
Robin? Okay, I'll second you on
Thank you
that.
very much. I don't see that we agree with that. Yeah, we'll vote on doing a press release. We've got to vote on actually talking as councillors. We'll vote on that. Thank you. Anyway, never mind. We'll move on. All makes life more interesting. Right, in which case we'll move on to local democracy week, which is something we all try to practice.
Happy to make this, Chairman.
You have to note this report.
Yeah.
So nothing to consider, and it's obviously going to be a bit further ahead. Ryan?
Just a question, was there any stirrings of any, you know, anything to do with the youth council, the Buckingham Youth Council?
No. It's on the action list, we're waiting for it to move forward. It's a big, the discussions on that are ongoing, and we were working with other people, and quite frankly, it's in one of those quite difficult thin boxes, and we don't need, we can go into what it was, I'm sure officers can inform you after the meeting by email what would be denied, that's okay. Just to remind us, but I don't think we need to discuss it really, if everyone's happy with that, but thank you for raising it. Right, so that's moved on, which item 10, which is street food event, please. The report is with Inia. Street food event report. Who's leading on that report?
Just the logistic one really excites me. So the recommendation is that we would host, that the committee hosts and run it for a street food fair next year in 2024, and that if successful, this event is alternated in future years with some art sculpture trail. We've put that alternation in because current staff capacity, we couldn't hold both events in the same year, that wouldn't be possible. The second recommendation is that the Good Endings Fair is held in the 2024 to 2025 year. Both of these are requests from the committee that came from the previous meetings that we've looked at. We're not presenting you with a full event plan for either of these yet. It's to agree in principle, and then we'll bring back something close to the time of exactly what event which would include.
Thank you. So the Good Endings Fair, you've got Councillor Harvey has agreed to be lead councillor, but the street food fair, it was Fran that was going to be lead councillor. So I just wondered if that could be included in the information, because that's right, isn't it? Fran, lead councillor, yeah.
That's a fair point, we can include that.
Thank you. And then where you've got the brochure, it didn't really have a good uptake of the green, sorry, the Good Endings Fair before. I was wondering, because they're private businesses, could we put them on the website and social media, or the leaflet would be as far as we would go with that?
No, we can promote private businesses in this context, that's absolutely fine. It would be the same as advertising that they were attending. So when you know, if we have another kind of fair, we would say which businesses.
All right, can we do that then as another option, because it's only the leaflets that was in here. And my final question, where you've got the street food fair would alternate with the sculpture, I wondered why we couldn't alternate the Good Endings Fair with the sculpture, so that we have the food market every year. Is there a reason that option wasn't included in the recommendations as an idea?
No, not particularly. If it's something that the committee wants to agree with, can I have that change? But
Yes.
I would just say that we're obviously on at the moment we're at capacity in terms of events. So if this is what you want to do, and you want to say that you would have the street food fair and the Good Endings Fair alternation with some art sculpture trail, it would be difficult to bring in any new events. So if you had a new idea in a few years' time, you'll have to review.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I suppose it also goes to Fran, sorry, Chairman, what you, and it's not, Fran doesn't have to answer it now, what she thinks as to, because she's been a lead councillor, whether Fran thinks it'd be good to do it every year or alternate. So you don't have to answer it now if you don't want to.
Chair, I would like to see the street food fair as being an annual thing, really.
Okay. Can I add that to the as a recommendation then, Chairman?
Proposer and seconder.
Yeah.
All those in favour?
So
Thank you.
just to clarify, we've amended the recommendation to say that you
To alternate the Good Endings Fair with the
Yeah.
sculpture.
Can I ask a question there?
Yeah, go on.
Okay,
No, hang on.
sorry.
No, we've had a proposer and a seconder and we just voted on that. So what's your question?
Is the Good Endings Fair meant to be an annual event? As it's in there, to me, that reads like a one-off event.
I think John can talk on what the Good Endings Fair is. I think
we should look at the whole report before we make any further decisions, because I was going to suggest, let's have one food fair, see how that goes, and if it goes well, then at that point maybe decide and so on. But the Good Endings Fair, I think it's been about 5 years since that happened.
Yeah.
I think that's too long. Personally, but other things have happened in the time. But I think that probably doesn't lend itself to be done every year. I think probably once every 2 or even maybe once every 3 years might be enough for that. But I would be personally, I know we just voted on it, I would be a little bit cautious about committing ourselves to an annual street food fair until we've done one of them. So I think we should make that decision now. We've just done that, but I would suggest that we review that after we've had one and see what we can do for us in terms of time.
We can do that.
So,
We can do that.
I just thought we were reviewing.
We'll review it anyway.
What?
If it under the thing, we'll review it anyway. And I think
Yeah.
Clark wants to come back.
I'm sorry, but I think I misunderstood your question, so that probably didn't inform your vote very well. I didn't understand what you were getting at there. The Good Endings Fair is going to be considerably less work to put together than the street food fair, so that's why that recommendation there is specifically that the street food fair and the summer art sculpture trail would need to be alternate years, and that's why I didn't have the flip there between the Good Endings Fair, because Good Endings Fair is relatively straightforward. Yeah.
I've got another question.
Yeah, far away.
Because we need to talk through the detail of this report. For example, paragraph 2.2, that suggests to me, the way it's written, is that we could actually outsource the organisation and the booking of the various providers to another provider. Because the town council staff don't do much, sort of bit like we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly that.
Is that if there is somebody around who would see it as their job, we give them a lump of money,
support them,
and they then maybe find a way, because the providers will want to pay to be here.
Correct.
So give them a lump of money to do the organisation, so that there's no extra money then on the town council staff. If that's the way we can do it, which is what is hinted at in paragraph 2.2, then it should be then relatively easy to fit that in every year. But this, we're going into new territory here. We just need to be careful. We need to know whether we can find somebody, who could do that kind of organisation, because we've had experience, not very much, of giving out money to organisations, and then the organisation goes bust, and so on. So I think we're just going to be cautious. But if there's a known quantity, a known provider that does that kind of stuff, and other councils have used them, that sounds a good approach.
Well, thank you, John. Just going to come back to Councillor Davis who brought the proposal, and then I'll come back to Margaret. Sorry.
Back to me.
No, it's just I thought she brought it forward. You might want to comment on that. That's all right.
So yeah, Councillor Harvey's quite right. There are various different companies, and I've been in touch with a couple of them that do organise these events in conjunction with other organisations. And I think the whole thing, I was going to have a meeting a few weeks ago with the officers and to talk through some of these things, but elections got in the way somehow. So I think while we are looking at it now to say yes, we'll go ahead and start trying to organise it. The actual detail of it, as with the Buckingham Live 24,
Exactly that.
is yet to be decided. So I thought that the report actually bringing the two things together was a little bit, they're very different things to go onto the same report, really. I thought that they're both events, they're both, well, one's a new event, the other one's a second running of what has been done before, isn't it? So I think we need to look at all the possibilities, but yes, I would envision it being an annual thing.
Margaret, I apologise. I missed you.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of questions, really. Where would is this street food fair in the cattle pens? Where is it going to be? Or is that still to be decided? And I think it's a good idea, and I think it would increase footfall. I think it would attract people into the town. However, would it not be bad for the people who, for the hospitality people locally? Because if people are buying their food from the street fair, they're not so likely to be going into the restaurants and cafes.
Yeah, I understand. Historically, on 2 occasions, we tried to do exactly this with trades and restaurants. Every time we went along to try and do it with them, it was about to buy the tables and chairs, it never worked. What this is very much, and I can only comment by one event I attended, that's all I've got knowledge of. I did an event in Stony Stratford, which basically does the same thing. And what happens is all the younger people who've got children, whatever, turn out and they go and spend the whole evening eating and talking and chatting, and then they return back to their houses after meeting each other. It's a very different event. And as we're sort of planning it, I would envisage that all this sort of discussion would come out at a later stage.
Yeah.
It's about sort of later on agreeing a budget, later on doing what we do. There is I understand the point with the report clear, but I think it gives the totality of what we're doing against what we're committing. There is a question in the report that I think needs to be answered. We're getting comments in the report, which are probably made with sincerity about staff time and that. Well, I'm quite happy to discuss staff time, but not in an events report. What I would suggest that we make a recommendation to the Resources Committee, that the Resources Committee look at doing what we did some 7 or 8 years ago. But if there is a issue of staffing in the council and we haven't got the appropriate staffing in the council, we allow a report to go to the Resources Committee about what is the appropriate staffing levels in the council. Because if that question comes again in the second report, so I think that is a very serious question. But I don't think it's for an events committee to discuss staffing issues. It's for the Resources Committee to discuss those, because it's a long-term problem. If there's a long-term problem about how we staff events, and hours in the office and such to do that, it has to be taken seriously. And to take it seriously, you have to actually have a report. Well, we did it some years ago, and what the recommendations came back saying, yes, we were understaffed and we did needed to employ more people. And I think that the evidence would be going. Now, it's a big body of work to do, but we can keep going around the question of pressure on staff. We have to, as council, have responsibility to suggest a way out of it. So I don't know if I'll make that of this report, but I may make it on the second report, because I think that's something that we need to actually have undertaken, because we can't expect, if there is pressure in the office for them to be continued, we have to think of ways of resolving it, because many of these things we do are long leading, and many of our standard events have been here for close on 25 years. The pressures have been there for 25 years, and I've not ever had in a report staffing questions. So I think that needs to be taken note of. The chairman of the committee has to note that. comments and respect the officers
Yeah.
making those comments, and have to look for ways to resolve that.
Yeah.
My view is you resolve that by doing a review, or suggesting you do a review on the amount of staff that we need PSA.
If that's a proposal, then I'm happy to second that, because I totally agree with you. We don't want to put extra pressure on our staff, and this probably isn't the right committee to discuss that in. It needs to be in a confidential
It needs to be confidential
meeting.
discussion, it needs to be discussed in a much more
So,
fluid way.
I'm happy to second that if that's the recommendation.
Concerns, we listen
Yeah.
to them, but this isn't the right forum.
Yeah.
Not the right place to do it, I don't think.
No, you're right.
I'll take,
I'm not, yeah, I think it was me, wasn't it? I'm not convinced it's the right place of this committee to make a recommendation as to what should happen to the resources committee either. This is, I think, I hear what you're saying, and I also hear what the, or read what the officers' report is. Having said that, this needs longer term thinking, because you can't solve short-term or ad hoc staffing problems with a longer term staffing plan. They work on different time spans. So if we're talking about adding individual events next year, that's not going to be solved by a longer term staffing plan. So I think within a particular time span, we still need to be mindful as to what fits where.
I'm not against that, but with great respect, I was the person who proposed we did a staffing plan in the first place. So the great respect, I've done this once before, and that produced a really virtuous circle. So, we can disagree with it. We've had a proposer and a seconder, but it goes to confidential discussion within the resources committee. I think that's the personal thing to do, so we don't repeat the narrative. I think officers need to be able to talk freely about what they think, and it has to be done confidentially.
Yeah.
So,
agree.
if you want to propose that we don't do that, you can do that, but we've already had a proposer and a seconder that we make a recommendation to them to actually look at this as an addendum to this, because it's mentioned staffing in the report, and we have to take that very seriously.
Right.
So, is the committee against that?
No, go to the vote, Chairman.
All those in favour of doing
Do
it?
we have a recorded vote?
I think we had.
If you ask, then we are having.
You can have a recorded vote.
Yeah, it's a recorded vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so in favour, we have Councillor Stutchery, Councillor Mine, Councillor O'Donoghue, Councillor Ahmed, Councillor Davies, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Willett.
Yes. Those against? Those abstaining? Thank you.
Councillor Schaefer and Councillor Gately.
I'm not timing that. If that's for the chairman of the resources and the office.
Just 10 o'clock, but
Yeah, right, not for me. Right, any other comments on the report? Okay.
Well, really, it's following on from that discussion. I hope I'm not confusing the issues, but one of the reasons I abstained is that if we are going to have events, any events, not talking about these specifically, we've got to cut our cloth according to cut our coat according to our cloth, unless, I mean, there are huge concerns about keeping our precept down, not increasing our precept. I know we're talking about the budgets later,
Yes.
but this will just push our budget and push the precept
The budget's
potentially.
being talked about later. One of the reasons I reversed the way that we discussed things.
Yes, I know. But
But-
this hasn't. But if we did, I mean, I'm fully behind the notion that we have the one and then review it, and then we can decide. This is really good. It's good for the town. It's something we should be pursuing regularly. And at that point, we have to decide whether we have got the capacity to deliver it, because we can't now come with.
But I think what will happen, and I'll be correct if I'm wrong, we'll do an event, we'll review the event. If it's not possible, we won't do it. We may find out in reviewing that event that it isn't going to cost any extra hours in the office and such, in which case all the concerns float away. And if it is, we then have to review the event sensibly based on the report we get on the outcomes there. The good endings fair is going to be in 2025, and I know John's absolutely frustrated about that because John started it and we've been delaying him for a very, very long time. and I understand his frustrations, but if you accept the logic of the report and then the art events, well, we're almost, if we agree the report as it is, we're agreeing we're going to do an art event in 2022, which I think we could agree, yes.
21?
20, not 22, 25. So what I'm saying, we're agreeing in this report, we're going to do an art event in 2025. The art event came up from the officer's suggestion. It was part of stuff we did during COVID. It wasn't done the week, and it's been worked out very well. But it is a lot of hours, the art event. It did use a hell of a lot of hours, and it did use a hell of a lot of officer time, and it produced a hell of a lot of good feelings of the town. So it's quite logical that we discuss those things in the round. So I think the idea of automating it, I understand the logic of it, but I think the way I see it is that we're not one or the other, but that's the discussion that we'll have. The principle that we do an art event again is a good principle, but
Talk about that.
we can talk
after
about
this
that
has been reviewed when
after
we've
this has
had
been
it.
reviewed. We'll have the art event to follow the next year.
Mm.
So we'll be doing a review of this event against that event, and we need to then look at what we do with it.
Okay, so should I make a suggestion then to the recommendations? So 1.1 recommended that members agree to host and budget for street food fair in 2024. So we could take that, and that's going to be reviewed as we do every event anyway. And we leave off the sculpture art trail that doesn't need discussing or deciding upon now, if it's going to be in 2 years' time anyway. So we could just vote on that we agree to host and budget for street food fair for 2024. That's 1.1. And then 1.2 recommended that a good endings fair is held in 2024 straight 2025. Would that be reasonable?
What do members think about that? John?
Yeah.
Okay, can I recap where we got to? Because I think it's getting a little bit confusing for me. We agreed a motion at the start of this discussion that we would aim for an annual food fair. That decision's been taken.
Yes, we aim for it.
Although the wording of that I think wasn't totally clear, but let's move on. We've also agreed to ask resources committee to look at staffing issues around events and other levels too.
Yeah.
And that's something that feeding the system.
That's future proof.
Yeah. We're talking about the budgets for the next year, so we're talking about budgets for 24 to 25. Therefore, we have to agree a line of budget for the food fair.
Correct.
And we have to agree a line of budget for the good endings fair, because even though that's not
the budget.
Mark 25, it's still within the next financial year.
Agreed.
And we haven't done that. So the issue about the art and sculpture trail rather, I think we can probably leave that now, but we will need to be thinking about it. And I expect as an advocate for that, I would not want to see that go. I think something along those lines was extraordinarily good for town. Out visiting places, I heard somebody say, "What big places have we been to?" I mean, Buckingham's not a big town, but even then, people visit places that they've been to. So I don't think we've made any decision about the art trail.
Yeah.
But I would hope that it would carry on in the summer of 25, which of course will be in the next financial year. And we'll be having this sort of discussion next year.
Yeah.
We haven't yet, excuse me, Rob, let me just finish what I'm saying. We haven't yet agreed that we're going to have a good endings fair in the next financial year. So can I propose that we do, and there's a line in the budget with that, and like sort of the second that, we just kick that forward and
That's basically what I said though, John. I agree to the 1.2 recommended for the good endings fair. That's part of my thing. All I said is that we drop off the summer art sculpture trail in this wording, because we're going to review the street food fair after it's taken place, and the staffing review will happen in resources between now and then. So we'll then know if we could do the food market yearly or we can't, and how we're set up for the sculpture trail. So it's not just, it's not magically disappearing
In
it.
which case, that's proposal, I'll second that. We go to the vote. and we've got-
I just want the clock.
Thanks.
Sorry, just to clarify, so at the beginning of this discussion, there was a proposal and a seconder that we have a street food fair annually. That wasn't voted on, so
It was.
Well,
It's agreed
not
it.
recorded that we voted on that.
Well, we definitely voted on that.
it was proposed, seconded, and then voted on it, we had 2 abstentions.
So that was.
That was
Okay, that was the other thing, but we did vote on it.
Yeah, definitely voted on it.
We can do it again, if you want to do it, because you
No,
don't know.
no,
So
clarity.
majority around the table said that we did.
I would say, I think it was rushed. that vote. I would like more time, because there were things to be said about the report, and that was whacked in very, very. I'm happy with that, what's done is done.
Well, I had a proposal and a seconder, I could not then turn down the proposal and seconder. I don't think you can then.
You don't have to go straight for the vote.
Exactly. That's how the process works.
Yeah.
That you're unhappy with it, I share your concerns, you express them very well.
Now I'm just changing the word in
You have to
1.1.
go to the vote when you've had a proposal and seconder, unless somebody wants to propose, we don't go to the vote.
Well, we've got a new proposal, I
So
tell you,
let's
Chairman.
run
There's
through
been
this for your
seconded
own
by-
mind. For clarity, we'll run through this again, right, which is, I take it, we don't stay for a minute, right? I take it that the proposer was suggesting that we have aspirations to do the food event as an
Opposed
annual
it.
event,
No.
which was the seconder, right?
Yeah.
Then what you said then, that it was agreed that we'd do the good endings fair in 2025.
That's
And that
1.2,
either one was going to contradict the other.
correct.
Is that what I'm understanding? Is that clear?
No, I don't, that's not what I understand. I understand that we do the street food fair as a one-off and see how it goes, and then we take it from there.
That's not what we
That's
voted
not
on
what we
now.
voted on. No, the thing was, the report
That's what I
suggested we do it alternate years. What the proposal and the seconder were not in favour of is doing it alternate years, because that prevents us, if we vote on it, if it's a success, doing it the preceding year. That's where I think the concern was, that the report prevented us doing the preceding year. And as we hadn't actually planned the event, and we didn't know what the costs and whatever, we were making a decision before we knew what the event was going to be.
We do
That's how I
We
think.
do have money in the art sculpture pot though, but we haven't got to the budgets
Yeah,
yet,
we haven't
so.
got to that. That's why the budgets are at the end.
Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what we're voting on. Are you happy with that?
My new
That's what
proposal
we're-
is that 1.1 is that we post and budget for a street food fair in 2024 and leave off the summer art sculpture trail until we know more about staffing. And 1.2 is a good endings fair in 24/25. So to leave that line as it is. That was seconded by John.
I'm sorry, I believe that Councillor Gate did suggest that we try it as a one-off. Isn't that what you said?
Well,
Of the
after the
street-
vote.
Well, I think we need to have this first event. I think we're all supporting that. In 2024, a street food fair, assuming it can be arranged, and then we review it. I'm not convinced we did vote on that at all.
Well, considering I know we proposed it and seconded it and we went for whatever, and it was very quick, I do agree. But that's how it was.
Point of order, Chair. It's kind of academic, because 6 months are up, we can reverse that decision. Maybe.
Correct.
Exactly.
So I'd say let it stand.
Yeah.
By 6 months have gone, we'll have had the food fair.
Yep.
It's coming up well. Thank you.
Not the food.
Sorry.
Food fair, so it's completely different.
We can review it after then. We can-
Exactly.
And we wouldn't be overruling any decision we made.
Right.
So we made the decision, the vote was taken to have an annual street food fair.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
Yeah.
I agree with what Lisa's proposing, that we simply agree 1.1 up to the point where it says 2024, and we agree 1.2 in its entirety.
Yeah.
That's, can we vote on that one as quickly as we vote on the first?
All right, that's seconded.
Well, Lisa proposed, I'm saying.
Okay, then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Fine. Is that clarity for us?
That's it.
Okay, in which case, John can go to the toilet now.
I think you needed to pronounce
You told me that
all our viewers.
you
You went to that corner for a reason.
said you needed to go. And I've been nothing.
Let's move on swiftly. I would suggest.
Right, with respect, right, that was happened. Now we're moving on to celebrate Buckingham. You want to lead on that?
Again, very short one. There was a recommendation from the post-event report on Celebrate Buckingham Day that we think about, not what we definitely did, but we think about merging Celebrate Buckingham Day and Spring Green Fair together. That was discussed a little bit at that committee meeting, but the recommendations agreed. The office on way and consider the different options. Understand the points that were made at the meeting about particularly about disabled access for Spring Green Fair and the eco-focus for Spring Green Fair, and has recommended that we don't merge the events. So essentially the recommendation is that we keep things the same.
Margaret, and then
I propose that we accept the recommendations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just wonder why it's come back to another report when we discussed it at a previous meeting and decided against that. So why is it?
So the agreement, as in the report from the minutes of the meeting, was that it was agreed that we would consider merging the two events. So
No, we didn't.
You are welcome to go back and have a look at those.
Sure,
I can find those for you. It's the July 2023 minutes.
I think
No, I'm sure we didn't.
we spoke about it and then we agreed that we weren't going to merge the two events. And I thought that was, sorry, Chairman,
Yeah.
I thought that was the agreement.
Yeah.
But if that's been put into the minutes that another report is brought back, that's what this is. The recommendation is 1.1.
it's confirmed
I'm happy.
already.
So, yeah, so it's not going to make a difference of what's minutes. We can now agree.
We can
to
agree
do
with
it.
it.
Yeah.
It's a shame because officer time.
Saying as we had, I thought voted to not merge the two events. So we voted against the officer report at that meeting. That was my recollection of it anyway. That
But the report.
is that the YouTube that's not.
So just to clarify, no, that isn't the case. In the meeting, it was agreed to agree the recommendation because there was no recommendation from the report that we decide at that meeting that we would merge those events. So it wasn't possible to make a agreement for or against that statement, only to make a agreement that it be considered, which it has been.
Okay, let's move
I'm
on.
still confused, but anyway.
Let's move on and do all the. Can we just agree the report and then we do all the post minutes?
Which we want to be agreeing.
I'll be back.
Page 23, John.
Yes, I agree, sir.
Yeah, that agreed.
The recommendation, yeah.
Then we can do all the other discussion after the meeting. Right?
I'm going with
Yeah.
the recommendation.
Right,
Yeah.
that's thank you.
I'll second it. If nobody seconded it, I'll second Margaret.
Second Margaret, right, all in favour, seconding Margaret, let's get that done. It's all getting more tests than it needs to be. Right, thank you. In which case, we'll move on to less choppy waters, which I think is a wonderful.
It is.
You can start.
The
Yeah.
information, can you take us through it?
Really good.
About the broad outline of it, because it's what it states, what our team and officers have done, with all the information is something pretty incredible, I thought.
So again, this is from our town centre and external politics manager, and she's given a summary of the kind of things that the Choice of Connection Centre does. So tourist visitors, they run both the website and these types of social media. The physical side means that they can do small gifts and ticket sales and vouchers and those kinds of things. And the online does not work to promote local tourism inside the town as well as outside the town. Followed on from, there was a tourism strategy from 2 years ago to promote the town as a base, which you can go out and visit local attractions. The town sent the team that run the tick also run shop mobility, so they work together well. Yeah, so I think it's a fair summary.
That's fine.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask if we can note our thanks in the minutes to Sam, for this report and for all of the team's hard work, because it's a very positive report.
I think I take your point, but what's happening is we're having, and I think Dan part correctly, what there is a lot of cross working on this stuff.
Team.
It's a team
Yeah.
effort. Everybody's
Okay.
put in different ways. It's not one person doing one thing. Sam's doing something. Louise's oversight and
That's what's up team.
and it's a special team thing. So though we need to thank Louise because she does oversight of this body of work and it,
I'm happy for the next status.
no, but it is a very positive report and
Well, it's Sam's report, so we
but I would think if you
thanks to Sam and the team.
agree the report, I put forward the background information, a report to do with what our proposed, and we looked at it and we noted it. If you look at that report and you've read the two reports in conjunction, I think our team are doing far more what tourist information should be doing, which is going out and collaboratively working with other people, not a scoping document for how they might do something in Buckinghamshire. And that gap in that report that I read, which maybe it's because the way I focus on things, Buckingham was hugely missed. And my comments in that report was that they missed Buckingham and put it in with the community board over the top of Buckingham. This actually fills that dot in. So I'd like to make two proposals to this report, that we send this report to add to their consultation about tourism, because this report is really adequate, that we send them this report to say this will fit in that block of consultation that they're undertaking, which they pay for but miss Buckingham. Secondly, that we promote tourist information. It's a large part of our budget. The reason I said we promote it through a press release based around the officers' contribution to promoting our economy locally. And I don't think we can actually stress that enough, because it was Councillor Mike Smith who fought strong case to actually us to take over tourist information, and we owe it to him. And at the time, it was a touch and go when we did it. And it has proved an absolute success, and the work between tourist information and the old jail has proved to be quite virtuous. So are you happy to agree? One, I propose that we send this report to the tourist information to make them aware of what we're doing in Buckingham.
In Aylesbury.
Yeah, anyone second that?
I'm just happy for that to be seconded.
And secondly, we do a press release around this about the positives time of it, which doesn't have to be scheduled in tomorrow. It's scheduled in a future day, because it needs to be detailed press release. To actually promote town council, what we're doing and the background of why we're doing it.
Absolutely.
That
Great.
right? Vote on both then. Hands. Yeah, is that all right? You want to speak on it, Margaret?
Just a very minor
Sorry,
point.
Margaret.
I was trying to control myself earlier from mentioning, but if this report is going further, in 2.5 it refers to the borough's attraction, and we aren't a borough anymore, are we?
No, thank you, Margaret.
So can we just correct that if it's going further
Thank you.
afield?
I wouldn't assume that. Because
Yes, you're
I
right.
probably still think it's a
So it's the town's attraction, I think,
thank
really.
you,
Yeah.
Margaret, thank you. That is a very valid point.
Yes.
The word. And with that said, are we happy with those two recommendations?
Yeah.
And to agree the report in its entirety and everything,
yes.
thanks for them.
Yeah.
Right, that show of hands. Right, thank you. Right, the next one, item 13. I wasn't at D-Day, but my grandfather was. So I do see the relevance of this report. And after the weekend we've just had, communities continue to appreciate, and those who made the sacrifice. I think it's really nice that we've got this on the report. John was first with his hand up, so I'll go to John.
Yeah, just because we've been talking about it already this evening, happy to support it, of course, but are there any resource implications for the town council?
Not really.
Very low level, I imagine.
Okay, I mean, I'm assuming that the mayor or deputy mayor will be there.
I think that's the main
So
big
it's not
level.
going to involve any significant officer time or town council costs because we have no budget.
Ryan?
I'm glad to see this on the report, and yeah, I think it's a really good event. I wish them all the best in carrying out the 80th anniversary of the D-Day.
Yeah.
We should support this.
Lisa?
Thanks, John's got a really good point, because the last event that we supported up at the church, there was about 3 members of our staff up there, so yeah, we do need to be careful that we don't make our staff overdo what their capability is. Remember the Queen's, was it the Queen's thing that we had at
Yeah.
the church?
But, yeah.
The Queen's,
Well, the
King's,
celebration,
sorry, the Queen's.
there were several events in that year. Sadly, we had all of which celebrations.
It's a lot put on
of the
our
Queen's
staff.
turn of office. And then we had, sadly, we had the situation of the Queen's demise. The time that we used for that, I don't think we would count it. It's extraordinary on both accounts.
There's no extra, like John
It's
said.
extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah.
It's not like this is how this would go. And I believe through you, I think the town clerk, that this is not envisaged to be something that we're leading on, we're supporting.
No, it's not. It's a little bit more they would like them there to come, just to be clear. But of course, if there was any change in that, we could bring it back to.
Yeah, if there's a concern on that they come back with sort of they want us to be up there holding and propping the building up or something, or that they want 15 members of staff, you'll bring it back to us pretty sharp, is right.
Yeah.
Because the platinum jubilee.
Platinum, thank you. I couldn't. Yes, platinum. Thank you, Andy. And it's all everything like that.
Can I, just for clarification, sorry, this seems a minor point, but since I got confused earlier. So supporting in this case means we're saying, yeah, this is a good idea, go ahead and feel free to invite the mayor or the deputy mayor to come and attend. So that's what support means, right? In that case, I'm all in favour of it.
I don't think we're going to be doing much, and I think it's basically we're actually supporting other people doing something. With that said, are we happy to support it? Second,
Definitely.
I propose we.
Oppose, Margaret, seconded Andy. All those in favour? Thank you. Right, there we go. Who's the last person? Thank you. Right, now we'll move on to item 14, which is the report on the chart there. Would you who's going to take us through that?
So recently the charter fair contracts are run on a 4-year basis, and we're coming towards the end of the, in fact, we just finished the previous contract, so we're negotiating with the run the charter fair for us. This is the combination of those conversations between them. So there are some amendments from previous contracts, mainly to add a few more stipulations on our part about what is expected, and that's all agreeable to the Nichols agreements they're happy to sign. So it just needs agreement from the committee if you are happy, and then we can sign it.
Just to make a positive comment, this is part of our process, which the town clerk put in place to make sure that we have, this is a contract which historically have, but she's doing a lot of work on making sure that most of our partner organisations have a proper contract in there, so that there's never any confusion about responsibilities. And though this may look like an additional contract, there was work done on changing this contract to reflect the scenes that have changed. And credit to the town clerk, the negotiations went on with the Nichols brothers to make sure that they understood what the contract was, and B, understood the changes. And that all takes time in the office. I was witness to it, and I was present. I just think that we need to know that has to happen for these things. So are we happy to agree with this? Proposer and secretary, please. And
I was just wanting to ask a question.
you can't walk there.
One of the things, so 1.14 point 3, and it says no balloon filled with hydrogen gas. I've never heard of balloons being filled with hydrogen gas.
Oh, yeah. Helium. You mean helium? don't you?
It's quite normal, but
Helium.
I think probably some side is probably the really big issue at the moment. Hydrogen is highly explosive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be really honest here and say that was part of the contract that has been in place
Yeah,
for a
it
very
just
long
seems
time.
very
So I didn't particularly question it.
for anybody who's filling a balloon with.
May I suggest that somewhere in the dusty histories of Buckingham Town Council, we had an issue with hydrogen balloons. And somebody
What's that?
this may be, I think it must be, I do not remember an issue about hydrogen balloons, but I can imagine that Paula Heath, in her instance of Western, decided that we should put a clause in there so they don't bring hydrogen balloons back. So I think we must leave that clause in there.
Probably needs the next.
I mean, I can phone Paula up and ask her about hydrogen balloons. She'll probably ask me what's on earth's up with me.
Wasn't the Zeppelin?
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
It was, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't want it anyway, so
It's not easy to get hold of.
okay. But what you're saying is, we wouldn't want hydrogen in balloons anyway.
Can that be changed?
Margaret.
Yeah, thank you.
you.
I hadn't particularly noticed that, I have to say, but I know that, you know, we are very concerned about the climate emergency. And it is my understanding that balloons, full stop, whatever they're filled with, even if they're filled with by my puff, are not very environmentally friendly. So whether we want to ban balloons, but that might be a bit extreme. But just to throw that one in the mix, the
What I
explosive
advise
mix.
you is that we've negotiated this contract. This is not to negotiate and vary the contract.
No. No.
Don't give me up. Don't think you can
Don't take it out now.
invite them back up to amend this contract. Andy had proposed that we get the contract and you can set it. You want to speak them?
Yes, I do want to speak.
Yeah, so.
Sorry. Is it a choice then that we have to kind of agree this because it's been
Negotiated, yeah.
So I was going to add into 1.14.4 the matter that came up that Louise knows about. I was reported later on in the documents about one of the sideshows playing very inappropriate music during the time when there were small children at the fair. And I mean, I looked at the lyrics of the song that was complained about, and they were wholly in. And I wondered whether it was feasible to add that in now. But if you're saying we can't do that,
You could do anything you wish to do.
Well,
I'm saying that it would be absolutely disproportionate to, after having them up in a process, which we had them up once to show them the contract, which was, correct me if I'm wrong with these, it was several months ago when they came up. We showed them the contract in the debrief of the last chart there, the one before this one, to show them what we were going to do. Then we invited them back to sign the contract, and I think it was either September, was it? September, October. And this contract was agreed and signed with them before those issues come up.
yeah, I'm not being critical now. I'm just saying, do we not now have, because if this is a 4-year contract, will we not have an opportunity to add that clause in until 4 years has elapsed?
No.
Before we do, yeah, I go to Louise. I don't think it's appropriate, but I'll go to Louise.
So if the committee decided that they did want to make changes, we can get the Nichols Brothers back to discuss those changes with an amended contract. It is possible to do that. Obviously, we need to get it done in good time before the next event, which will be October next year.
May I just speak on this?
Go on.
Knowing the Nichols brothers and Marshall, I think we can have the office staff or yourself can have a quiet word with him and say, look, music is inappropriate, could you please tone it? And knowing him, he will do it. So I don't think we need to go through the whole rigmarole of renegotiating, because he's quite amiable to accept what we are saying. So I suggest that we have a word with him and say, the music is inappropriate, could you tone it down?
Agreed.
Please.
Thank you. I understand where John's coming on this, because we're being asked to agree something and we've got no way of adding or editing it. So, but I also take your point as well, Chairman. And Andy comes up with a very, very good solution. Because I was going to suggest that instead of dragging them back up here, is just to have a phone call with them and say, could this be included? It doesn't need to take several months to do that, but I'm happy to go. What,
I mean,
if that's a recommendation that they just have a quiet word?
Makes a lot of sense.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Just for sorry background, I got once accused as chairman of writing the contract.
I was there.
And I had to get the previous council to write a letter to the council to prove that I didn't write the contract. Contracts with the council are officers' decisions, and the officers write the contract. It's really for us to actually agree that. I think that all the points made are what I call business arrangements, of which Andy adequately addressed can be dealt with by our officers who've got a very good working relationship with Marshall. You know, and those things will be part of the debrief and talking to them.
Louise, that not be okay?
So in the matter specifically of that music, for example, we did address that with Marshall between the first and second third, and we had no complaints after the second third. So as far as I know, that hasn't been dealt with.
Point proven. In which case, are we happy to agree it?
Yeah.
All those in favour, we've had a proposal sector, which you've got, haven't you?
We've got the proposal second, we haven't got the second.
Right, the proposal with Andy, the second was Dan. And then we'll get it, and John as well.
I'm just voting.
Voting, right, all those in favour, because it's more painful than it needs to be.
Andy and Fran.
Andy and Fran. They're forming a new band called
Frandy.
Frandy. They're going to be playing at the new
Paul is ready to go home. Paul has had enough there.
Live event.
Yeah.
Of which John and Ryan are going to be doing
Karaoke. All night. 24-hour karaoke.
24 karaoke. Well, they did agree to 24 hours.
They did.
They did. You heard that, didn't you?
Yeah.
We did it 24 hours. I'm sure they said. Anyway, I'm glad to do that better.
This is parade committee contract next.
Yeah,
update.
Parade committee contract update. Thank you.
The Christmas parade committee contract or event contract has been fully signed. It's filed. It's done. It's sorted.
Done. So good.
Virtually high-fiving you right now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think that is a relief.
Definitely.
If we were.
Can we give thanks to the office, please, for getting all these done?
I did see it on the side.
Can I ask, seeing as the theme this year is pantomime, whether we're going to go as a pantomime to the parade and dress up?
I can show the map.
I got to get anyway. Dick Winston, here is there.
I could be.
Are you going
To London, pussy.
I think that's a really grand idea. I'd love.
Oh, no, it isn't.
Knock yourselves out. Is there a witch anywhere in there? Because I've got.
This costume.
I've got the Grim Reaper.
I've got a witch.
You did it pantomime, would it? I think it's a marvellous idea. And I am not going as the cat on all fours, I can assure you that.
Be the back end of the horse, Robin.
Why have I got to be the back end of yours? Who's going to be the front end of yours?
May I suggest we discuss this outside the meeting and proceed with the meeting?
I just think it makes it for fun, and I think we should have some fun. It's been not really fun tonight. Right. Point taken. should record our thanks to negotiate that contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that we know that it's all
Thank
legal and safe, which is
Yeah.
important. We have concerns. Right, item 15, update and outside representatives on outside bodies. Nothing, only just to say I'll give a report to a future meeting and I'll give it to the officers over the firefighter at another meeting. I think it probably goes to interim, they can decide if it then goes to council, but I think that's something we all should agree. And with that, we move on to item 16.
Point of order, Chair, you did say this one would do the budgets.
But I did, sorry, you're absolutely right, John. And I was so excited about moving through the items. Thank you for bringing me to order. And let's do the budgets, right? Let's go right back up to your agenda. To the very top. And click into budgets.
It's 10 of 55.
Then 55.
Yeah, that's it. Right, the first item is just to agree to note the budget sheet. Are we happy to note those, John?
Just wanted to say, well done on the sponsorship income. That seems to have suddenly taken off. So well done.
So the sponsorship income that we've had for that one is actually towards the river rents this year. So we were successful in getting a sizable donation from Buckinghamshire Council towards the skips because
Oh,
we've been used
oh,
on that.
well,
Yeah. Which is good. They pay.
Yes.
That's good. Not always.
No.
We did have problems with outstanding, didn't we? Right, Lisa, then.
Thank you. So page 11 of 55, this under 303 special events, so third one down, skate park income. We don't have an income from skate park.
yeah.
So why have we got the budget line for a skate park income?
So we agreed last year when we set the budget that there would be an income line and an outgoing line, and that we would try and seek sponsorship towards it. So that's why there was an income line. But
Thank
the
you.
income and outcome were balanced. So in the end, obviously, we're not having an event this year.
Because of
Thank you very much,
circumstances
answered it
which,
perfectly.
both your-
And the next one is also under special events, so 4279 Summer Art Trail. Does that need to have a slash and street food fair as per item 10, because we're gonna
It'll be on the next
use
budget.
that.
Wait to the next set.
Next
but
budget.
Okay.
It's got a budget line,
Yeah.
so that question's answered.
Right, cool.
But if you look at it and you look at the way that our committee budgets have gone, and you look at the way that the markets expenditure and whatever has gone, I think, you know, they're doing a cracking job, really.
Yeah.
You know, keeping that actually going.
Mm.
Is there any other questions, deliberations, issues, spelling mistakes,
No.
Margaret, or anything that we need to do? Because in which case, I'm happy that we know those.
Yeah.
We don't need
Yeah.
nothing.
Noted.
Noted, thank you. In which case, we move on to the report here, which I did think, after preparing it, it's only right that the can't just oversight of the report on the proposals to precept. Are you happy with that?
This is
John, I'm sorry, I think,
sorry, I wasn't expecting to do an intro to this one.
no, it's just what you go to say what is work done, really.
Yeah, so it was obviously a process that's been gone through in the office to look at what the expected costs were for next year. The changes that had already been agreed by the committee, or potentially were going to be agreed by the committee through this agenda. And that's what you'll see. There is an explanation where we've changed things in the final row, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Right, Lisa's first, I think.
Thank you. So the Remembrance Parade, do we need to, just for the record, add in there road closure? Because underneath it, the Spring Fair has entertainment and road closure. We don't just do the hiring of the screen. Doesn't need it for the record. So we've also got music in the market, road closure, that we're not probably going to use now, but it's listed elsewhere.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, it's okay, thank you.
We could list road closure, but historically, we don't fund the road closure for the for that part of the Remembrance Parade. I think that comes under a national.
thought we
road.
did.
That comes under a national road closure.
I believe they part of it.
Be a bit for the church. Yeah, which they dispute that it is highway, so that's interesting that we're paying for a road closure on an area land.
No, I think the town centre.
We pay for the area in the town centre.
I'm not sure.
It's just clear.
Sorry.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I thought it was under a national road closure rule.
The whole thing is that because we put that road closure on from 7 till 10:29 in the morning.
Yeah.
If we pay for that, and the county-wide closure goes on at 10:30.
Oh, it's for the parking. Yeah, thank you, Amanda. Yeah, that makes sense. It's for the area where we muster. If we didn't have it in there, they wouldn't be able to muster because it'd be full of parked vehicles, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. That's makes absolute sense. Yeah. And thank
So
you.
yeah, and it doesn't need
So
to
it does
go
need to go in there. You're absolutely right, Liz.
Thank you. And do we need to change wherever the income line is for the food market, street market thing?
That's
Is it already in there, in the income?
So
200,
we put that in as a new, so typically the
Okay.
way we would do this is we wouldn't have a combined budget line for something, we'd have a separate budget line
Yeah.
for each event, and then obviously we just, we don't necessarily use them every year.
Yeah.
We're not gonna hold that event that year, but they remain on the system.
All right,
So that if
cool.
we do bring it back, the budget line still exists.
All right, perfect, thank you.
I think we had a budget line for food fair, but we haven't. We've got a budget line.
They're at the bottom.
It's right at the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah. I read it. We had a budget,
street food and food fair different.
Yeah.
but it's
things.
gone in as a neutral budget. We anticipated it paying for itself. I think that was what we were.
The street food fair.
Yeah.
So we did put in more than that because the exact structure of the event obviously hasn't been agreed yet, and there's quite a lot of different options. Some of them probably would involve us spending more than came in, and this gives us the flexibility. If we don't spend it, that's not the end of the world.
No.
So it's,
But not
but obviously up to
yeah,
you as a
yeah.
committee would want to.
Yeah,
I think we
it's just
keep it.
clearing it up because it's going to precept, so it's going to be an added, whereas if we're not doing the art trail next year,
So
but
the art trail is not on this proposed
Yeah.
budget for next year.
yeah,
So
that's
we'll
fine
go
then.
on future budget.
Yeah, thank you, that clears it up.
John.
Just scanning down, I'm trying to work out where the extra 11,500 has come from. It would be helpful when we see this again to have maybe increases somehow highlighted. I'm not sure how you do that.
They are high. Some of
Well,
them-
they're not in the. You have to, I mean, the notes are all there, but most of it says slight increase. Well, 7.1% is more than a slight increase, so where does it come from? I can see it in the salaries, and national insurance and so on. I can see it obviously the cost of the street. And I can see that we're paying twice as much for the remembrance screen next year. This is a prediction, it seems extraordinary.
You want to explain that, Sean?
So that it's there, I'm just wondering, it would be easier if possible for that to be put in colour the same way, so we can just follow.
I can certainly feed that back before the preset meeting and we'll see what we can do. To answer the question about the remembrance rate, the reason why that looks so much more is not because it's going up so much more, but because we previously didn't have an income line, because the RBL have an arrangement where they contribute towards the cost of the screen. Well, not really, we contribute towards the cost of the screen, but if you see what I mean. But we haven't shown it in the accounts in that way before, with the full outgoing and the full incoming.
Oh, I see.
So this just corrects that.
Because it comes in, we pay it out, John.
Okay,
Then
no,
they-
that's
they-
fine, I understand.
And some of the things like,
Detail here.
there's some minor changes to both the music events, and that's because of incurred costs in delivering those events. And that's both, but which is now going to change its name, it will put music in the market for the sake of this gender and Bandjam. And then we've got minor changes on the vision of some of the youth events we do, which basically have been
We've agreed that anyway.
yeah,
so-
we agree with those, but I mean, are we happy with the, we're not, none of the budgets are dropping, but then the costs going up, and
Yeah.
I expect it won't. if we take money out of our budget, I'm sure somebody else will put it in theirs. So are we happy that there's anything else consideration? That all the conversations we've had have influenced the way we view this budget. So I'm looking for a proposer and a seconder on this. Margaret's proposing.
I'll second it.
Okay, right. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Right. Okay, now we'll move back to, thank you very much for that. We are going to item 16, which is Holocaust Memorial Day. Andy, then John.
No, sorry.
Okay, we'll just go down the. Get it back there. Give a chance to reschedule where you are on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it as well.
16.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Tanya.
We've got a report there. Which case, I just seen Anya and John, is that correct? Anybody else want to speak on it?
John was before me.
John was first.
Propose we accept the recommendation.
Yeah.
And I would second that.
Okay, in which case that's nice and simple. All those in favour? Thank you. Thanks for the cooperation on that. Right, now we move on to the events review. The first one, we've got up there report on Bandjam. We should, who's going to lead on that? Because there are some changes. We had a meeting with them not long ago, and the discussions around the way it goes forward.
No,
You're right.
I'm brewing a bit of a cold and stuff, guys.
Andy, you board
You've done the wrong. Sorry, that's not Let me add that to the committee.
I walk down the street, it's been dragging the floor, it might look bad.
All right, sorry about that. So we had our post-event meeting with Aaron Finch, who runs Bandjam now. He was really happy, and he was particularly happy with the support that he'd had from the council towards running the event. He had a couple of suggestions, one of which he's happy to leave, and then another that he wanted to keep, which was that he wanted to create more family-friendly spaces within the event area. So he wants to keep it in the same area, stay in the town centre, but similar to the market, he wants to think more about what they can do to make it a family-friendly space. So in response to that, we've already agreed the budget, but that's why we raised that budget a little bit so that they would have more money towards some activities for that purpose. But overall, the event went very well. The children were excellent. They were a surprise. No, they weren't surprised. We knew they were coming. Yeah.
I'd just like to say, I spent all day there, and it was a long time past now, but it seems August is a long way away, doesn't it? But it was very well attended, and the chocolate bites coming in brought different people into the town centre who wouldn't normally be there, who then wandered and took part in music. Also, I think the sound was excellent this year. The people who did the PA this year were much, I don't know what they did different, but it was a better quality of sound.
I could hear them from Linden Village, so that's good.
You could hear them. It's the way the wind blows, you know. Also, it's the way that they actually did the staging. Worked out better because they got a lorry, which is why you heard in Linden Village, is because they went back to the original route for Bandjam, which is to have a lorry on the where Specsavers is now, which meant that they had the whole street for the sound. I also thank those councillors. I know John came down, Ryan came down, and Margaret at the end of the event to help pick up. And if you could come, Andy, you were away that day, weren't you? You were away. But thank you very much for coming to help pick up at the end of the event. We don't thank people enough for that, but it is important. The staff have had a very long day when they get to the end of that event. The fact that the councillors turn up and contribute to try to mean they can actually go home earlier. I stayed right to the end, to the stage, disappeared, locked up the cabinet, at whatever time of night it was in the morning. And then I am nocturnal, so it didn't affect me. But I would like to thank all the team who worked on it. And that's belated, but it was a strong team out there, and I think looking back, it was probably really very successful. The quality of bands were somewhat improved on previous years. I think Brian first.
I think John was first.
He's holding his hat. I don't know if he's speaking.
I'm here. My only criticism is I was not happy that the main placard at the front was not the town council.
Oh,
It was the conservatory one, I think, which I think if we're backing this and putting the most money in, it should be Buckingham Town Council event, should be front and centre.
I've said that
It's
for
not
years.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy with that. and I
Yeah,
want that
agreed.
changed next year.
Well, I
No,
think
good point, John.
that'd be part of the ongoing discussion.
I've said that, yeah.
I'd agree with John on that as well. I think although the event was absolutely brilliant, from what I saw. I'm liking what Aaron's saying for next year as well. He's going to bring in more local talent as well. I've had conversations with him, and I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic for the next year's Bandjam.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I'm really sorry that I missed it, but I was working all that weekend.
Yeah.
I shall have to make sure that I get my rota sorted out to have plenty of time for next year. Unfortunately, my colleagues had booked annual leave during that week, so I couldn't get out of it. But I will endeavour to be around next week.
It's very late today. Can I suggest that we write to Aaron? It's the first year we've done this event, expressing our thanks as a committee on the work we've done, with the note that the reason it's late is because it didn't get discussed until now, as you'll think is really peculiar. And also record our thanks to the commitment of staff throughout the day.
Definitely.
And record in the minutes our thanks to the town councillors who came out to clean up at the end of the evening, because it really makes a big contribution. And we could extend that hopefully to all the town council if they wish to come down at the end of the evening. I know Andy's there every year, but this year was an exceptional circumstances. I remember why. So I think that we should extend that invitation to all the other town councils and even come to the event maybe.
I think it does, doesn't it? An email goes out to all
Yeah, I know,
councillors.
but I always think it's, you know, they miss out on so much by not being involved. I saw that would change in 2024. Thank you.
Can I propose that we accept the recommendation?
Yeah, with those.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, River Rinse, it was in the Water River. Right, all those favours, shall we agree?
I thought Rob was trying to say something.
Yeah.
You're going to say right.
No, I just would second thanking Aaron. Also say that continue the good work with the other jam as well that he hosts.
Yes, well, that's fine, that's nothing. So, yes, you do with us, but you're doing that anyway. It's great that you right. So no deviation, we've agreed that. So we move on to River Rinse. And any comments on that report? Pretty self-explanatory. My recollection.
Yes.
Are we happy to?
My comment,
Yeah, go on, John.
my comment is I was pleasantly surprised by the lack of litter around the river.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of us with plastic bags a little bit, because there really wasn't much. That's better than previous years. So well done, town, for not leaving this much dirty. But I would also agree with the recommendation of those exceptions.
Good. Yeah, thank you. Just to send a note to our main supporters, which is those are back and recording our minutes. I'm grateful without them to do this event. And from the river point of view, because I'm always in the river, in and out. But this event, I know the two events are quite close together this year again, and we had different people at each event. We had a photograph competition at one of the events, but I don't know why that one. But yeah, it was a success, and I think we should write to them and thank them for their continued support. Is that agreed?
Absolutely.
Really vote things off.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's important. We couldn't do it without them.
You talk about sub-applicants.
We stayed about.
Oh, yeah.
We couldn't do it without them.
Will we agree the recommendations?
Yeah, we're agreeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that, but yeah, thank you. In which case we move on. We've done charter fair, just to comments on the charter fair. Any comments? Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Halloween event. We're going to note that before.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So and it says to organise a similar event next year.
Yeah, we'll note it and agree it then, John. Thank you.
To agree the recommendation.
Agree the recommendation. Right, but you're proposing what's
I'm
it?
proposing.
Right, seconded by so many people. Who's going to have everybody's hand with one of three. Who's going to go? Ryan hasn't seconded. Yeah, it's your turn, Ryan. But all in favour? Right, thank you, and thank you for pointing that out, John. Bonfire, Andy, have you got any comments on this?
No, other than a very wet start, about 3 o'clock. It still went ahead. In fact, it turned out to be an excellent bonfire,
Yeah,
considering that we thought we may have to cancel. Everything was covered in
I know
water.
it would be.
Yeah, I know, but not when we're Lee and I was sheltering under the little thing with water all around us.
I mean, I'd say very, very close to being cancelled, but it wasn't quite, and we made it.
I'm glad that to hear that it went so well. I couldn't attend myself because I'm working.
Yeah.
After a 12-hour day, it's pretty hard going. So I retired for the night. How did everything go? Was the
Fireworks.
Went as normal.
It went off his back.
Like a rocket.
the one lady who did the fire dancing said,
Yes,
"You better demonstrate."
Well, you missed it. You said,
Oh.
I missed it.
Right.
John Watson. But I would have expected it.
Sorry, I would not be fair to you.
No. But I'm glad it went so well.
Yeah. John.
Yeah, I think it went very well. I mean, I think we were short of a few councillors to carry the
Thank you.
torches.
Yeah.
And some of us were carrying 2 or even
Yeah.
more. Torches.
Again, I apologise.
I'm not sure that was entirely. It probably was safe, but I would have been more comfortable carrying one torch. So I think whatever we can do next year to give it good enough notice to say, please, it's one of the times when people should see, the town council, united, lighting. I know there are reasons why some people weren't able to. I know that, but if we can, we can encourage people a bit more than that. I'd also say that the fire fauna, if that's what we call it, was clearly very light because people were staying behind to watch it after all the fireworks and the bonfire had been lit. So, which is obviously a good hire. And we were probably hiring again next year. And I thought the fireworks were very good too. They were better than the previous year. I'm not sure how I could measure that, but it felt and looked better to me.
I've got videos of both years, John, so you can have a look at that.
Yeah, I'm still not sure I could actually tell exactly why I thought it was better. Maybe it was last year was a bit misty. This year was much clearer.
Oh, I was just going to comment on the torches that we've got an officer meeting coming up in a couple of weeks to discuss that and what we do if we have the same situation where we've got enough councillors for the procession. But I think we'll put in place something different so that we don't have the same repeat of people carrying a lot of torches.
We just carry one each, and the ones that the problem is that once you have soaked the torches barrel, they have to be lit. I can't keep them in my garage.
Yes. And you're in a bonfire, can't you?
But they can be thrown in the bonfire later in the evening. So we can't just have one torch. If there are 5 people, we just like 5 torches.
Yeah.
That's easily solved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I have to say that, and I have to say this, I went down in the morning, so I was awake. Early in the morning, I went down and there was Andy again, picking up rubbish in the park. And I think it should be called special thanks to Councillor Mari in a minute. because
Definitely.
He's a diligent then, and he's down there picking rubbish up at the end of it. I went down there.
9:30 we met.
9:30 we met. And we do it with table. And I think that's another thing that gets missed out of this event when people go away from the event.
Yeah.
Andy's there on the morning after picking up rubbish and picking up a few. But actually, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that people have been really quite respectful of the park. haven't they?
There was only, I was disappointed that there were sparklers. We picked up sparklers again,
Really?
and yes,
Wow.
disappointed there were so many sparklers. Yeah, I thought so, John, would stop it, but no.
I was just wondering with the torches, if there's any reason that it's just councillors that carry them, whether it could be members of the public. Some sort of
Liability, isn't it?
Liability.
liability. The only reason I ask is I know that at Blackpit, when they do their bonfire, they have sort of a lottery basically. If you want to carry a torch, you can apply to them to do it. So they certainly did a couple of years ago. And then you will be there at a certain time, and it's all pre-arranged. And you get a safety briefing and whatever else with it. I just wondered whether that might be something.
And we can certainly have a chat with our jurors and see what you think about that.
One thing is we have got 2 new councillors, so town councillors who joined us. So there's a possibility that they'll want to carry a torch in the future year. There's a possibility councillors may have had other personal circumstances while they weren't there and may wish to come and join us again. But I don't see there's any issue having a torch in each hand. It's safer than a petrol can and a torch.
Where did you put your cigarette?
No, that's too. I was fine. I coped adequately. I was multitasking. But it went off very well, and it was a positive event. And yes, it was touch and go, but Buckingham Council doesn't cancel events unnecessarily. That's why people trust us for an event. And it would be absolutely extraordinary if we had to cancel something we had in the past, but that's for extraordinary reasons. People trust us. So I'll be happy to, Lisa.
Just to say that as well as the people that were in like around the paddock, there's also a large number of people in the road, because I sit on my windowsill to watch them. So there's a large number of people there, and they all seem to enjoy it. So it's not just in the park; it's around the area as well.
And thank you very much. It's a bit late to do. I think we did a press release on that anyway. I think we will do. But I think if we do a press include thanks to Andy. We have to note the report.
Yeah.
I agree the recommendation.
Agree the recommendations. Yeah.
Sorry,
Proposed by John and seconded by Andy. Is that correct? We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Sorry, point of order as well, Chair, is do we need to appoint a new lead councillor? So you can step down.
Yes, I think somebody should start doing it now.
Well, I think
It's 16 years, yeah.
Not in the report, I know you said that.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I think it's a very relevant point. I think what we'll do is we'll advertise the job internally. There's no reason why anyone who's not on this committee couldn't take it on.
I know.
We have 17 councillors.
Yeah.
Some of them don't attend limited amount of meetings, so they must have more time to devote to these things. And I'm sure that if they need advice, Andy will advise them.
Yeah.
He's done an excellent.
So can we agree that then? That we put out the invitation?
We advertise it internally.
Because the sooner that happens.
I'm proposing that.
Yeah, that's seconded. Yeah.
Agreed.
Seconded by then we agree that, okay? Good point, John.
And thank you, Andy, for all your many years at you.
I think it's been a great contribution. You see all sorts, haven't you, Andy, now?
Yeah.
We've got to go into that now. No, sorry. Right, items 7.6, update on remembrance. Yeah.
Thank you to all of you that came out to the Remembrance Day parade yesterday. Like bonfire fireworks, it got off to a bit of a wet start, but not quite as bad as we'd had for bonfire fireworks. We had people turn up to the briefing that were wet. We had marshals placed at all the strategic places. We all carried radios, and we found that that's the better way of communicating. Our radios are stretched from here to Western Avenue. Yeah, it all went well. There'll be a report next time in February.
Madam Mayor, how was your experience?
Yeah, it all went without a hitch.
Yeah.
And roads only got a little bit damp. So yeah, no, it was a good event. It was a good event, and for those, I'm sure you've all seen that the Aylesbury District News carried a little video of it.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
Of the where it forms and sets off on the marketplace, which is quite nice.
That's quite nice. Were you in it?
Yes, we're all in it. Well,
Okay.
everybody who was there is in
Oh,
it.
okay.
So it shows the entire parade setting off from Market Square. So it's quite nice actually.
Send us the link.
Yeah.
Or is it on Facebook?
It's on Facebook. Yeah.
I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, it's on the Aylesbury District News Facebook, and I've shared it to Buckingham. Well, I've shared it to the Mayor of Buckingham page, and somebody has shared it to Buckingham. What matters to you?
Yeah, well, I just want to remember.
Yeah, the day before, our Green Spaces team put up the Union Jack flags, and when you come up into the town from Bridge Street, it looked really nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things was quite nice, Lucy and our new town councillors came and took part in the event. That's the first thing that she'd taken part in. And I suppose it's quite different having been in things as a younger person in the event from the other side, to actually then come and be at the event from this side. It was the third time. I think we, Margaret and I, and we walked back with her, didn't we? And, yeah, and she seemed very, very buoyant and good fun. And she stayed with us, and it's really nice as addition to the team. And she got a better jacket than I had. And
Managed to get one meeting with them.
yeah, I know, thank you. But anyway, so we're going to report our thanks because everyone took part. Especially can we put a thanks if we do a press release on it. We must thank the people who come and did steward it. Without the stewards, the event doesn't take place.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, in which case, calendar of events.
Noted.
Okay. To receive and agree the working calendar of events. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, received and agreed.
Okay. Actions list. Is there anything on that action list that you wish to bring? Access, I mean, yeah. Go on.
Okay.
Yeah, go on, yeah.
So just to update on access, it was previously agreed that we would buy kits to have a quiet zone gazebo at some of our events, and we've ordered all of that, and the first time we will be using it will be at the Christmas light switch on. So do come over and find it, say hello. Quietly. I've also actually, this is kind of coincidental really, I wasn't going to mention this, but we've tried various arrangements with the disabled viewing area for the stage, and so we've got a big sign for it this year as well to make it easier to find when you go through the crowd. So
Is it a bigger area?
it's bigger and it's next to and in front, so that it should be easier to
Excellent.
access.
Okay, I shall come along and test it again for you.
Come feedback.
Well, that's, that's positive, isn't it, that we're going to be doing that?
Yeah.
So happy with that. We got to action list, not access list. Action list. Any comments, deviations, concerns? No. Are we happy with that action list?
Yeah.
Right, climate emergency. not that we're happy to have a climate emergency, but are there any actions on there you want to comment on? It would take time preparing these reports. John.
Just one thing I heard yesterday, which I thought was a really good idea, is rather than name the storage after random first name, they should name them after all the companies. So you could name the BP store.
Oh, right.
Love that.
Good idea.
Yes.
Perhaps we should name her after Prime Minister's Carlton, please. They always have a male name, don't they, and then a female name.
No.
Yes.
They also
They alternate it, don't they? Yes, you know, I don't think they're going to take any notice, John, but I don't think we have less storms. In less storms, they always sound quite alarming.
Advertising.
Right, so we're happy with the climate.
Yeah, is there anything new on there that we need
There's
to
nothing
make?
new on it.
No.
We're all happy to note the report.
Yeah.
Thank you. News releases, we've covered most of that in there. This is something overburdened people we ought to mention. Let's run back with doing the tourist information, the markets and much other things, and work in the town centre managers. Was there anything else major in the report that we felt necessary? And if we done the press release out for
We posted one out there.
we include a line of a big part banking council Mari here.
All the years that he's done there.
Years, 15 years, it's a big portion of his life and a lot of on we must include that in it. Chairman's item, if I've got any date of next meeting will be the 12th of February. Your birthday.
It was my birthday.
Bring the cake
Now bring the cake.
Can we record that?
It's not my birthday, which is weird.
Yeah.
It's normally on my
record that
birthday, I'm
anyway.
sick.
Roger's going to bring cake,
Hmm.
but he'll be
Yeah,
working
go on.
that night now, won't he?
Oh no, I put that as a week off.
Yeah, how that's really good. Right, we've all said and done, we've had quite a practice and elongated discussion tonight, but I think we've got to where we need to be. Please do read the minutes when they come out in case you're concerned about them, because we have expressed concerns on both sides within the meeting, so I think we need to make sure that we carefully read those minutes. If you haven't got any concerns, just watch the red card, you can see yourself saying what you said. So that's if you've got any concerns, but I don't want to then have another discussion around those when we